Hello, mortals! I am the BookTube Goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. This is a series analyzing the new Critical Role campaign in terms of story. We are on episode 4. I haven't said this before, but this video will have spoilers. Not sure why you'd be watching this if you haven't seen episode 4, but just in case, there will be spoilers. First, let's get this out of the way and follow up on the fate of Bertrand Bell. I was a huge fan of Bertrand, loved how Travis Willingham played him, and was a little bit angry when he died. That's all covered in my previous video, which I'll link up here. Also, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, especially if you want to see more of these Critical Role videos. If you're a new viewer, I usually do videos on books, but I'm a D&D player and a big fan of Critical Role, so decided to cover this campaign 3 on my channel. Now, not much has happened in this episode. We don't get much story development, so this will probably be a short video. Famous last words. Anyway, in my previous video, I talked about how much I disliked how Bertrand died at the end of that episode because it felt a little too scripted, which is contrary to the enjoyment, at least for me, of watching the Critical Role players discovering the story that Matt Mercer, the Dungeon Master, is telling. But I also said that I don't know if any of it was scripted. It could have been that the Dungeon Master was incorporating consequences to bad decisions of a player, like going for a walk drunk in the middle of the night, carrying a bag of gold. Well, several people pointed out some tweets that Matt Mercer put out that discussed what happened, so here are the tweets. Another little bit of a glance at what led to the end of tonight's session. Travis wanted his campaign 3 character to join in a little bit down the road, not unlike many classic JRPGs, I guess that's Japanese role-playing games, but it led to an issue. I wanted Travis at the table and present for the first episode at least or more. When given the option to create a character, he was inspired to bring Sir Bertrand Bell back for this purpose, and we discussed the means of his exit. Travis proposed the grim end, but agreed he would not know how or when. As such, we anchored Bertrand into the story and watched where things went. Do not fret, Travis will return in the near future with his true Campaign 3 character, and it is going to be a blast to see the paths collide. Now, as I guess sort of a disclaimer, I'm not such a huge fan that I follow all their tweets or go onto Reddit boards or that sort of thing. So there are probably things behind the scenes that a lot of you may know about that I don't know about. So just throwing that out there. But let's unpack those tweets. According to Matt, Bertrand was always meant to be a placeholder character because Travis's main character was planned to be introduced later. They agreed that Bertrand will meet a grim end, but Travis would have no idea how this would occur, and I'll take this at face value, so why did it feel scripted to me? I think it may be because Travis was kind of going out of the way to put Bertrand in harm's way, like when he walked into a sphere of darkness swinging a sword, or splitting up from the party to chase after Danis, gnome lady. He started following Danis and Imogen followed him. Or let's say, for example, going for a walk alone and drunk in the middle of the night. Anyway, it is what it is. It doesn't change how I felt when I first saw Bertrand die. But I appreciate that this was not fully scripted. Now we can only speculate on what Travis's new character may be. When I first saw Matt's tweets about this is a placeholder character, I immediately jumped to the conclusion, which I think was reinforced after watching episode 4, that Travis's character is the person that Orem, Fern, and Dorian are searching for. Now, I believe this character will be some sort of assassin based on some hints that Orem dropped. Of course, I have no idea if that's true, but let's talk for a moment about alignment. For those who don't know or aren't familiar with D&D, alignment is a grid with two axes. On one side there is good, neutral, and evil, and on the other is law, neutral, and chaos. So we get alignments like lawful good, chaotic evil, yada yada yada. And in the center is true neutral. Now, classes like fighter, thief, rogue, whatever, are often required to have a specific alignment. Like all druids have to be true neutral, paladins have to be lawful good, and assassins have to be some type of evil. And players are required to role play according to their alignment. Now, back in the old days, alignment was strictly enforced, and I guess that's true today depending on the dungeon master. I'm actually not sure how Matt Mercer applies alignment to his campaigns. Is it just a guide, or how does he enforce it? If you know, let me know down in the comments, because I know some of you know much more about this than I do. My guess is that it's more of a guideline rather than a strict rule, but maybe that depends on the class. For example, a dungeon master may track a paladin's action, and if he or she or they do enough evil acts, the dungeon master may shift the alignment of that paladin from lawful good to lawful neutral or whatever. Then, because the character is no longer lawful good, he can't be a paladin, so he loses the paladin abilities and becomes a general fighter. Now, if Travis is an assassin, and again, this is all speculation on my part, I assume he will be required to play an evil alignment. But if he's required to role play evil, that could put some pressure on the group. Now, why would that put pressure on the group? Now, if you play D&D, you may know that it's much easier if you have a relatively good party, at least in terms of story. It makes it easier to justify the party taking care of each other and not having a player go off on some killing spree. That never happens. But I guess it depends on how that character interprets evil, but I don't know about you, but I've certainly experienced a campaign where everyone wanted an evil party, mostly to try out evil classes like assassin and anti-paladin or whatever, and the game devolves into a bunch of psychopaths going on a murder spree until they're eventually put down. What I'm getting at is that it is often hard to pull off an anti-hero story in D&D without it just becoming a hack and slash session. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but in terms of story, it doesn't go very far. Now, I love a good anti-hero story, and if any D&D group could pull it off, I think it would be the Critical Role players. I think if Matt uses alignment, if he uses it at all, but if he uses it more as a guideline rather than strict rules, because character development in stories require shades of gray. If being evil means you have to be selfish and have no regard for life, the story and the character development doesn't go very far. But if the characters are allowed more freedom to be three-dimensional, we can get more interesting character arcs. Anyway, we're jumping the gun here. We have no idea what Travis's new character will be. But let's talk about what happened in episode 4. Like everyone else, I was riveted and enjoyed watching the characters, but afterwards had to conclude that not much happened. Remember, I talked about Magician's Choice before. That means whatever decisions the characters make eventually lead them to where the Dungeon Master wants them to go. But that assumes that the characters are making choices, and you can't force the players. You have to let them bump around until they discover something. By the way, this can be really frustrating to new players of D&D who are accustomed to games with clear directions, because a lot of times it feels like there's no direction and the Dungeon Master's just staring at you going, well, what are you going to do? But in Dungeons & Dragons, that means there are just going to be some gaming nights where you're just searching around, trying to find out what to do next, and this is one of those nights. We last left the party after they had split up and gone to bed, except for Bertrand, of course, who went for a walk and got killed. But we also saw Imogen had a dream of Bertrand dying, and she wakes up. And then she wakes Laudna up, and they rush out to look for Bertrand, and they wake up Orem and Dorian and Fern, and they find that Bertrand's room is empty.
Orem comes out into the hall just in his breeches. What is going on? It's
the two of you have begun to arouse and wake up from the...
I'm looking for Bertrand.
Did you
For
see him?
what? Do you know what time it is?
No, actually.
I come out holding Mister. And his little bow is all smushed. My hair's all smushed.
What's happening?
Are you okay? What's the matter?
I don't know.
It's complicated, but we have a bad feeling. Imogen has.
This is so dumb.
It's okay. It's not dumb. It's not.
I just need to make sure he's okay.
Who?
Bertrand.
Who's?
I walked down to the door that I know that he's in, which Liam doesn't know.
Yeah.
But
Is it 2? Is it 2?
No, it's 7.
Oh, shit. Walk away from 2.
It was going to be your eventual choice.
Mr. Bell, I'm sorry. Bertrand?
No response.
I get out my lockpicking kit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Are you proficient?
No, we've been through those.
Yes, right. So just go ahead and roll. My apologies.
Sorry, I didn't mean to sound
No,
shitty.
that was amazing.
Just a dex.
Just dex check, yeah.
10.
Does not pick it.
Did anyone
Mr.
see
Bell?
him go to bed last night?
Wait, what is this, feeling? You said you had a feeling? What are you talking about? I'm sorry.
I had a dream about him. You're not here.
Yeah, nothing but Sam did.
Imogen, she has these senses, and they tend to not steer us wrong.
I've had a dream for a very long time. A very long time. And while it morphs and grows, it never really changes, if that makes sense. And tonight was the first time I've ever seen someone else in it, and it was Mr. Bell. And I don't know, I don't know what it could mean, but it makes me nervous for him, if that makes sense.
Do you feel like it's a premonition of sorts?
I genuinely have no idea.
I want to go right over the door and rattle it and knock again. Bertrand?
I mean, I left him with you last night. When did you leave with
He
him?
was with us. He was
What did he
drinking
do?
a lot.
I saw him right before he went to bed, or I thought he was going to bed, and I stayed up. I tried to take him upstairs. He was very drunk, and he said he was going to look for you.
For us?
Yeah, something like that. He said he was going to try and find your home, or I don't know. He just said he wanted
find us.
Well, we were supposed to meet up Right in the
He
garden.
insisted. He said he wanted to go for a walk.
It takes you 2 hits in succession, but very quick succession, and the knob just falls and hits the ground. And the door opens up in front of you.
Bertrand?
Bertrand?
With the impact, you hear Mr. go,
It's okay.
Creep in.
Doesn't like loud noises.
Oh,
look like
I
he
think
slept
he's
here
just
at all?
nervous.
looking around, the place is fairly undisturbed.
And they go out into the streets looking for him, and they eventually find his body.
I'm gonna creep into the alley.
As you approach, kind of going through the motions of stealthy arrival, you feel your heartbeat begin to beat faster and higher up in your chest. Your throat begins to close slightly with the eventual reveal of familiar details, as this is indeed a person lying on the ground. They're not moving, but it is indeed Bertrand Bell.
Fern, Dorian, do you wanna bring him? And then we can kind of make sure no one else gets too close.
Yeah.
Put him on our shoulders, make it look like he's...
Drunken night out.
Weekend at Bertrand's.
Weekend.
Come on!
God, that's so good.
And then Fern loots the body, which is kind of funny. It's something that you just do in D&D campaigns whenever you find a corpse, even if it's your friend. But it comes across as a little odd when watching Critical Role because you get so immersed in the story. It's just kind of jarring to see one of your heroes looting the body of one of their friends.
I'm gonna check his pockets. I'm gonna take whatever's in there.
Okay. I'll have Travis text you whatever Bertrand had in his pockets.
Oh, no.
He had lots of things on him.
Damn it, Travis.
Maybe some of them could be, clues. This looks like a
Travis, you gotta stop.
30-year-old condom. We going through these? We got some peanuts.
No, we're not.
Orem investigates and, based on Bertrand's wounds, concludes that the murderer was likely the dwarf boss they had met before. They eventually take the body to Lord Eshtaroth, who houses them for the night since they believe now all of them are in danger. The next day, the party meets up with Ashton and Fresh Cut Grass. They have no idea what to do, but decide to track down the dwarf boss. They go back to the room in the inn where they had a battle before. I guess it was the night before. And Orem and Fern enter a little tiny hole where the shade creepers came from and find it leads to a huge chasm under the city. Ashton bribes the innkeeper and discovers the dwarf's name is Duggar. Dorian casts a charm person and flirts with a guy at the bar and learns that Duggar is part of a criminal ring called the Corsairs.
You don't have a lot of coin. You don't happen to know where he's staying by any chance, do you?
No, haven't seen him around in quite a while.
Are you sure? And I'm gonna slap my hand on top of his on the or theirs on the tankard, and I'm gonna cast Charm Person.
Yeah, he's pulling out of the fire.
All of it.
All or nothing, all or nothing. Here we go.
So that was
13?
Well, no, they roll.
Oh, yeah,
Second
yeah.
throw on you, they failed. And so
Yes.
this immediately closed off. I mean, he watches you put your hand down, and they like
Get out.
begin to pull back. And then there's this moment where the pupils dilate massively and then recorrect, and that intense look of like get the fuck away from me becomes this bright smile. You know, hey, and you're like, you've been during this conversation, been reading up on this too. Initially, a lot of the thoughts were, who the fuck is this guy? Why are they asking? Duggar's a fucking weirdo. I haven't seen him in a while. What did he do? I'm not part of this. It was very much like a protective, I don't want to get into trouble if he's in trouble type of scenario. And then as you begin to delve deeper, the spell takes effect, and both of you, he is an open book at this point. He just goes,
Yeah, no, I mean, the transition started about 6 months ago, I'd say, you know. He was a carpenter years ago, but he closed up shop, and he'd been making decent money for the past couple years without his business, which, you know, means he's probably up to no good. If I'm to be honest, I think my guess is he's probably running with, I don't know, Syndicate seems to be a bit too out of his space. I'd say maybe the Hubat Corsairs is likely.
Oh, what was that again? I missed that. I'm sorry, it's so loud in here.
The Hubat Corsairs.
Oh, and who are they again?
They're a tough and up-and-coming crew of ruffians and thieves. I just wouldn't say competition to the Syndicate, but they tend to focus on the Mahan and the shitty guild leaders and, you know, guildmongers, so power to them, I say. Gonna steal from the rich and redistribute. Ain't gonna get in that way.
Right, we hate the rich, don't we? Horrible.
Does he know where the guild is, where the Corsairs are staying?
Are you saying that to me?
Into your head, yes.
Do you know where the, You seem to know a lot, by the way.
Well, just pick up things here and there.
I'm so sorry, remind me of your name again.
and then like gives you a squeeze of the hand as you have the hand on top.
Janaya.
I'll remember that.
Whatever you did, Dorian, this is all you hear in your head. Whatever you did, it is fucking working.
Hey, what if I said one word to you? Ready? Guess what it is.
Yes.
Broomstone.
Okay, not what I was expecting. What is it?
Oh, you're asking me?
Am I getting it? And like, he knows nothing, right?
Has no idea what the fuck
Totally
Broomstone
blank. Never
is.
mind. Dorian is totally blank. He's totally blank. He's got no idea.
But it's just deeply invested.
Yeah.
It's like, what's it mean? Is it?
Oh,
is that common? Is that a different language?
Oh, it's primordial. Ooh.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I'm empty. Do you want anything? How's your cup?
Yeah, fill me up.
All right, I'll be right back.
I'm so proud. That was amazing. Oh my God.
Masterclass.
Broomstone. I say we get out while we can. Before they notice.
Sure, let's go back.
I mean, unless it seemed like we were running him dry.
That was about it.
Yeah.
All right.
No, just ghost. Just ghost. Dorian, just ghost.
Wait.
He grabs his drink and begins following after. Where are you going?
Oh,
We'll be back.
I will be back. I will be back. That's a promise.
Okay, well, you know where to find me.
Oh. Bye.
Now, importantly, he learns that Duggar once looked like a normal dwarf, but more recently became sickly looking. Using Ashton's contacts, they meet with Effrey the Shadow Baker. He's in a disreputable part of the city called Elder's Post. But what's a shadow baker? It's just a baker, I guess, who sells pastries in the shadows. Now, why are there so many baked goods in this campaign? In last episode, Lord Eshtaroth made carrot cake. Maybe Matt is going through some kind of baking craze and is inserting it into his campaign. I don't know. Anyway, there's a really funny exchange about how the Shadow Baker is insulted by pies.
You don't have any pies, do you? That seems like a big ask for your coat, but...
I am not a maker of pies. I am a curator of fine pastries.
I feel worse than I do with fresh cut grass.
What kind of riffraff do you bring to me, Ashton? Pies.
Effrey gives them a lead to go to the Root trader Heron and say the code words, "They came for the laughter." Heron is some sort of creepy bird man and leads them into a trap where they're surrounded by, it looks like, 30 people laughing at them, and that's where the campaign ends. So, we don't get much action tonight. In fact, there's absolutely no combat in this episode, but it looks like we're going to get some action next week. What we do get is a lot of investigation and a little bit of subplot development, or development of the characters' backstories. We find out that Imogen, who doesn't like crowds because of her telepathy, is also plagued by these prescient dreams, which is probably why she wants to do research at the Magic University to find out what these powers mean. That's just a guess on my part. My suspicion is she's going to be developed as some sort of seer or magic user in the divination school. We also get more hints that Orem, Fern, and Dorian came to Marquette to find a person nicknamed the Anger, which is why I think it's becoming more and more obvious that's who Travis's new true character will be. I'll guess that the Anger is part of the criminal underground they'll stumbled across, and why I think he'll be some sort of assassin class based on some other hints that Orem has dropped. If so, I think he's being set up for some sort of redemption character arc or subplot. I just don't think that a truly evil main player will give a great story, assuming Matt allows for a non-evil assassin in his campaign. Anyway, all of this is pure speculation. I want to know what you think of this episode and who you think Travis's new character may be. Until we meet again, may all the books you read and all the campaigns you play be blessed.
Just if he's being sincere in his concern for us.
You may go ahead and make a